It's finally time to discuss Boudica Prime in Rise of Kingdoms. She is probably the single-handedly best archer commander in the game. Today I'll be going over skills, pairs, talents, equipment, and if you should even consider investing in her. Make sure you stick around till the end and hear my final verdict for whether or not she is a good commander. So I want to start with a quick disclaimer. Boudica Prime is not the same Boudica as the Epic version. So if we go down here, so Boudica Epic is not the same as Boudica Prime. This is a completely separate commander. They're not linked in any way besides the name. And that's it. That's literally all they've got in similar. But I've seen a lot of people who use Boudica Epic on the open field thinking it's a Boudica Prime, especially when she first released. I just thought I'd put that as a disclaimer since I've had a few people on my live stream also confused about it. So if you are considering investing in Boudica Prime, this is the wrong Boudica. She is epic though, so she's good for barbarians and stuff like that, but she's not an open field commander. Now let's just get right into it. Boudica Prime's active skill, 2300 direct damage factor to one target. Then she increases the skill damage that they take and reduces their march speed by 30%. So the 35% skill damage increase taken is crazy. That's like really good for your whole murder ball, especially if you can get her to trigger first and then all your commanders kind of go right after. You're just going to absolutely melt like everyone on the open field. Then that the reduction on march speed by 30% is also really good. If you're chasing someone and you get to drop that active skill, basically they're going to get swarmed and die, so I think that's really powerful as well. Those are two really good debuffs to have on Boudica. No other archer commanders to my knowledge reduce march speed, so I do also like having that on Boudica. But the main thing is the crazy high damage factor and the skill damage, but she doesn't have AoE. Second skill, 30% increased attack, 10% march speed, and when she's at fewer than 80% of units, she gains 30% increased defense. I like the march speed. Yeah, it's 10%, which isn't that amazing, but I guess it's like extra stats. And then the attack's nice. It's the attack though. The defense below 80% though is really good. I think that's very powerful. Purely because having a bunch of defense when you lose a bunch of units is great, especially if you're getting swarmed, because defense really plays a big role when you're getting swarmed. I'm pretty sure defense is like your counter attack and stuff like that. Next, reduces the skill damage taken by 25% while on the map, so resource nodes, this doesn't count. When taking skill damage on the map, also only on the map, the troops' normal attacks have a 50% chance to increase by 25% and a 25% chance to increase by 50%. So the quick way this works is they both have a 7-second cooldown, but they're not connected with each other. So if you get that 50% chance to trigger, then it will go on the 7-second cooldown. But if in the same turn you didn't get that 25% chance to trigger, it will be in a separate it won't have a cooldown, sorry. And then if you get the 25% chance to trigger 3 turns later, 3 seconds later basically, then that will have a 7-second cooldown and the 50% chance will only have 4 seconds left. So they're not interconnected like that. That's just one thing to keep in mind with the cooldowns, because I've heard people saying that when you get one of them, like if you get the 25% chance and you don't get the 50% chance, then the 50% chance goes on cooldown as well. It doesn't. Fourth skill, her probably worst skill, worst of the best at least. When attacking troops, receive healing factor 800 after using active skills. Rubbish for the field, actually bad because Gilgamesh would kind of melt her. But if we put that, just get rid of that, that doesn't really matter. She gains 5% all damage to infantry. So, I mean, worth 80 gold heads per level for some all damage? Probably not. But really, if you're going for this, you're going for the expertise. And her expertise, she deals 10% all damage, just straight up. And then when under control effects, 80% chance to dispel them. Control effects are things like silence, heal immune, and disarm. Really good if you're fighting Guan. If you're fighting El Cid, I guess you're immune to his disarm, basically. Other than that, the 80% chance to dispel them is great. Basically, just getting rid of silence is really all it does. And heal immune, I mean, I'd rather be heal immune, but oh well. Now, if we're going over all of her skills, the most important ones are definitely her first 3 skills. And I think that if you don't really want to go all out on Boudica, and you just want to get her to like a very, very good state, and you want to go invest in commanders like Nevsky or Scipio, then having a Boudica at 5-5-5-1 is perfectly fine. But if you just want to have a completely just field-worthy Boudica, then 5-5-1-1 is fine. But I still think getting that third skill is definitely worth it because it is quite powerful. Now, her best skill is definitely her active skill, like with almost every commander. That skill damage taken increased debuff is really nice, and then the march speed reduction at 30% is also really good. But the 30% march speed reduction actually is from level 1 and beyond. So Boudica's most important skills are certainly her first 3. So if we look at the first 3 skills, then you're looking at a pretty good commander. she'd definitely be on par with some of the older archer commanders at 3 skills. Like, she'd probably be better than a Nebu or better than a Gilgamesh at the first 3 skills. So definitely worth getting those 3 skills. If you want a just field usable Boudica though, then the first 2 are definitely worth it. But in my opinion, I think she's worth the expertise just so she can shred all the Guans with that 80% chance to dispel silence. And Guan's so prevalent on the open field, so I do really like that. Now, what's the best talent tree for Boudica? Well, I can say there's about 2 of them. This is the talent tree I personally use. I have latent power because I use Cyrus with her. But if you don't want to go latent power, you can just take these 3 points and put them in Phoenix Tail arrows. I think that's certainly reasonable. I went up here for the March speed because, well, I like March speed. And here's just a bit of stats. I didn't really think that the defense is as good as getting 1% health. You could consider, if you're running Boudica without a March speed commander, to take 1% of this health, get rid of that, and get the 3% extra March speed here. That's certainly a reason that you, certainly a path you could consider, but it's probably not as good as the health if you already have her behind a March speed commander. Then I just went all in on the skill tree because I think Boudica needs a lot of rage to keep up her active skill debuff. So if I was being honest, this is probably her best talent build. It's not her only talent build. You could consider going all in on the archer tree, and that would look something like this. This is probably her best all in on the archer tree talent build. I drop latent power here because if you're going all in archer tree, you're probably not using Cyrus. So I do really like this build a lot. It's definitely a build that you could consider as well. Maybe if you're using like a Tamiris, you can drop Rejuvenate here and drop Burning Blood and just kind of go down this side. And Boudica Tamiris is, I guess, a route you could consider. So that's certainly an option. And then going all in on archer tree, of course, you're getting Whistling Arrows, which is quite a powerful talent. But you're lacking on the rage here from Feral Nature, which I think is very important for Boudica. So, pairs for Boudica, if we're being honest, absolutely every archer commander will work fine with her. If you get to Season of Conquest and you're like, oh, I have a 5/5/1/1 El Cid and I want to max Boudica, bloody do it, who cares, she's going to do fine even with El Cid. However, I think there are a few standout pairs, I'll just go over them real quick. So, obviously we have Boudica and YSG. YSG is just a very, very generic archer commander, he's very powerful, high stats, high attack, definition of a glass cannon. And putting him behind Boudica, I mean, makes him a little bit more tanky, so he can take a bit more skill damage. Gives him a few more stats, gives him some march speed as well, which is important. So I do like that about having an Esong with Boudica. And Esong's got a rage engine, so that definitely does work quite well with Boudica. Next, another standout pair is Boudica with Artemisia, her arguably best pair. Artemisia actually silences herself, you can see here. But Boudica, if you max her, so you probably want to expertise Boudica to use this pair. If you expertise Boudica, you have that 80% chance to dispel silence, so I like that synergy really well. And Artemisia's also got area of effect, and she's quite tanky as well. And Boudica brings some march speed, which Artemisia needs. So that's another reason I do like that pairing as well. And then there's probably 2 more. Cyrus with Boudica I think is really good, purely because Cyrus is a high damage commander. Like if we look at Cyrus here, he's got lots of additional damage over time. So I think that he pairs really well with Boudica. He's got attack and a lot of march speed, and then if you expertise him, he's got a massive rage engine. So I do really like that as well. Plus, he gains more stats when you expertise him. So Cyrus with Boudica is actually really powerful and something I think that a lot of people should consider, and I personally use it a lot. So it's definitely a combination you should consider. Maybe if you don't have a max Esong and you want to pick a rage engine, then I think Cyrus is probably better in this situation. So just keep that in mind. Then Nebuchadnezzar, a commander I've trash talked a lot, but he's still good. I can't trash Nebu that much. He's still a powerful commander, so if you already have him maxed, then definitely he'll pair great with Boudica, and I think that's quite a powerful addition. I like Nebu's AoE, I like his march speed and his defense. He's just all stats with no like debuff or anything, that's why I say don't invest in him right now. But if you do have a max Nebu with Boudica, and you want to put your Cyrus, your YSG somewhere else, and Nebu or Artemisia is like an AMANITORE Artemisia, then certainly Nebu Boudica is going to be perfectly fine on the open field. Now, honorable mention for Boudica is Henry V. I think he works quite well with her, purely because, I mean, damage creep, power creep, all those things. He's got high damage, high stats, and he's very tanky and quite fast off territory. So having a Henry with Boudica is certainly an option you can consider, and something I'm going to look a little bit more in. I'm going to try it a bit next KVK. The only issue with it is that Henry doesn't have any rage gaining abilities, so you're missing out on that when you're using Henry with Boudica. It's the same with Boudica and Artemisia. But really, the other thing you're missing with Henry that Artemisia does have is no AoE. so Henry has no AoE at all. And I think that if you're going for Henry, he's best off with like a second march, like a Henry YSG, because I think that Henry's quite a powerful primary commander, and I prefer to split those two. Then again, if you do just want to go for like a really powerful single target Archer March, then Henry with Boudica is probably your best bet. Now, what equipment do I recommend for Boudica? Alright, so I personally, on my Boudica, I use Ring of Doom and Horn of Fury. Now, I think out of those two accessories, the only must-have one is the Horn of Fury, because I think Boudica really does need to gain a lot of rage to keep that active skill debuff up as much as possible. Then the other accessories, I mean, you could consider, but probably aren't as good. You could go Concealed Dagger. It's probably best on a fast march, so if you're using Boudica with Cyrus, or Boudica with Nebu, or even Boudica with Henry, Concealed Dagger and Moira's Web are quite good. However, if you've got a cavalry march, I think Moira's Web is better on the cav march. But I mean, having those 3 accessories, like either of those 3 on Boudica would be really, really good. And then of course Ring of Doom, I think it's just always OP, so if you just wanted to pick one accessory that you know is going to be good regardless of like trying to make it synergize with other marches, Ring of Doom is just pure damage and it's just really powerful. I've seen people say that Pendant of the Eternal Night is a good option. I mean, I've always said that it's not worth 160 legendary materials, but I mean you could consider it if it's something that you really want. Free-to-play accessories, seems they added an extra one, but this is not useful for open field. So free-to-play accessories, very easy. Silent Trial and Delane's Amulet, they're the best two, so if you don't want to get a legendary accessory and you want to make legendary armor instead, then Silent Trial, Delane's Amulet are the best, and if you only had the choice between one of them, you definitely get Silent Trial and then you make Call of the Loyal just to fill in the accessory slot. Now, Boudica can be gained in a few ways. Of course, you've got the Wheel of Fortune, so that's quite an easy way. Right now it's the infantry wheel, but every now and again the archer wheel will come around. So once that comes around, she's definitely worth it in that situation. And that's where you would get her. So she's quite easy to get through that. You could also get her from the Team Draw event, which is just gone. And also from the Orotok Tavern, she's available there for whatever reason. So if you need her, you can go there. She's not available inside of the Legendary Tavern, however, because she's not one of those earlier commanders that they've added. You can see here, she's definitely not in the list. So if you're looking for her in here, you're not going to get her here. So the final verdict on Boudica Prime is she's probably the best archer commander in the game. I said at the start of the video, the thumbnail says it and the title says it. So I'm really putting an emphasis on she's very good. She's definitely a good investment. Now the only issue is we've got new archer commanders coming very, very soon. So right now I think you just wait for any archer commander, just wait a little bit because we know that new archers are coming like maybe in a month or two. If you're going into KVK right now and you need a march though, then Boudica with any archer commander is going to slap. And definitely I can recommend it. She's probably the best option currently. On par, or I reckon just a slight bit above Henry V. So if you had to pick, I'd definitely say Boudica is one great commander for free-to-players. And if you're just getting into Season of Conquest and you've got a YSG maxed, putting him behind Boudica is amazing. I got like 15 million kills in 1 KVK with just that march. So trust me, it's a very, very powerful combination. Alright, so this was the last video for every single archer guide in the whole of Rise of Kingdoms. So if you want to invest in any other archer commanders, or you're interested in any other commanders that I spoke about today, like Cyrus, because that video was slapping, then I've got a playlist at the end screen of the video, which will tell you about every archer commander. So if you're thinking about, should I invest in this commander? Is he good? Trust me, you should be watching these videos because I don't want you to make any mistakes investing in the wrong commanders. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.